Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 3:11 p.m. May we have a roll call vote, a roll call attendance, please?
Yes, Aurora Black,
Present and not prison, as in the last minutes.
Kendra Garcia,
Present.
Kathleen Gish,
Present.
Pam Parfit,
Present.
Angelique Montoya Chavez, Miriam Jorhar,
I haven't heard from her.
Eli Fresquez,
Present.
and we have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you. So next is approval of the agenda. And I did have two changes to request to discuss under action items. One is a discussion on the Mayor's Committee meeting schedule not being posted on Prime Gov or the Mayor's Committee webpage. And two is a discussion of protocol and continuity of Mayor's Committee on Disability meetings. And those are just very brief discussions.
Okay.
And they can go in any order. They can go after or before. I'm not.
Is that a motion to amend the agenda? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I'm requesting to amend the agenda to include those two items.
So that's a formal motion required vote of the board.
Yes.
Okay, so may I have a motion to amend the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
And I second that.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda is approved. Oh, I'm sorry. I will do roll call. Aurora Black,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Kathleen Gish,
Yes.
Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Eli Fresquez.
Yes.
Agenda is approved as amended.
Thank you. Next is approval of minutes. And I want to say that personally, I don't approve the minutes. There is nothing written in the minutes to approve. There is no summary of discussions at all. And I just wanted to discuss that briefly, is that even though we have a transcript, hopefully with captioning, the transcript will be better quality than the one that is in the packet. But we still need a very brief summary of what was discussed so that people can know what was discussed and know to find it in the transcript to look further. That has not happened. A lot has gone down since we last met. I understand that. And I'm not expecting these minutes to be done in the interim. They can be sent to me for the next meeting. That would be satisfactory to me. But I do want a brief summary of what we discussed in each item and not just listing the agenda and action items. Hold on, one person is. Okay, and then the second is that the transcript that I received is so terribly transcribed by Zoom that I actually need help to transcribe that. It is 123 pages of errors, and it is shocking how inaccurate Zoom caught all of us speaking. And so I'm not sure how to proceed on editing the transcript. It's going to take a team, I think, of people to edit 123 pages of the transcript. But I am requesting that to happen however we can manage to make it happen, whether it's committee members contributing, 10 minutes of the video each, or, what's going on. It needs to happen. And so I'm not asking necessarily for the city to do it. I understand that that's a lot of work. But we need to figure out a way to make that transcript accurate. Also for the video, because that is the transcript that is attached to the video. And so without an accurate transcript, we don't have an accurate meeting, which means we don't have an accessible meeting. And so if there's any comments or thoughts on that.
So, there's a video with sound.
Yeah, for the December 15th meeting. This is for the December 15th minutes and the December 15th transcript.
So the transcript would be for people who can't access the sound
Uh-huh.
on the video.
Yeah.
Okay. And that being the case, I move that we delay review of the December 15th transcripts and minutes until the next meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
I so moved.
Okay. Okay, so Aurora has moved to delay approval of the December 15th minutes with Pam seconding. I am going to do a roll call.
Kendra, do you have something to say first, or?
Yes, I was gonna say is I'm more than willing to, look at the recording of the
Okay.
video and kind of help out at least with the transcript as best as possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is going to be a team effort, so I'm aware of that.
Okay, so I am going to do the vote. Aurora Black,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Gish,
Yes.
Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Eli Fresquez.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. And then I have another comment regarding October minutes, which I never received. And so I need the October 20th minutes with the addendum and the note as was discussed during the meeting and approved. There were a lot of emails going back and forth about those minutes, and I never did receive them. And so I have been being patient and trying not to add stress to anybody. But those minutes are actually supposed to be given to me within 3 days, but there was, because Helena, you were new and a lot of things were going on at the time, I was understanding that I was going to be patient about that, but really we need the minutes in the future, like as soon as they are voted on, then the amendments are supposed to be made and I'm supposed to be given those minutes to sign. I never received the October 20th minutes, the notes or addendum as was voted on December 15th. And so I am asking for that as soon as possible. Next is public comments.
No public comments.
Okay. Does anyone have any public comments on behalf of someone from the public who cannot attend the meeting? No? Okay.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Pam.
Anyone watching this, if they are hard of hearing or deaf, the captions are helpful, but they're behind most of the time. I'm a lip reader, and most of the time I cannot see Kendra or Halona's mouth to read. Thank you.
Okay, I'm making a note of that, Pam.
Kendra, your mouth is disappearing there, but you have to. I don't want you to be like a giraffe, but.
And then one of the things, I guess if we have anyone who is attending from the public, if you could type your name in the chat, and if you want to give a brief description of who you are, that would be helpful for us to know who you are. Otherwise, if we don't have any public comments from anyone else, we can continue. We have no presentations, and then action items. 1 second. Thank you, Robin. And then, so action items, item 7A is assuring continuity of mayor's committee membership and timely appointments of continuing and new members. Thank you, Andrew. So one of the issues that we've been having all summer, actually, since we had requested new members in June of 2022, and we received several applicants. We had one position open, and we had selected a member. And because Tom had resigned on May 20th, we had no one to give that appointment request to. And so it sat, and we had nowhere to take him to say, we want this to be given to the governing body. We couldn't follow protocol that is in the city handbook for appointments for members of committees. And so when Eli and I met with Mayor Weber on September 12th, I had brought this to his attention and said, you know, we have this person who has been waiting for 4 months and to be appointed to our committee. And there's nowhere for me to take him. There's no process for me to get this position filled. And the mayor told me to send it to him and to Danny Mackey, who is here. Thank you, Danny, for being here. And I did so. I sent the request to Mayor Weber and to Danny. That was on September 19th. And then I didn't hear anything at all. And I know Eli had followed up by phone a couple times and asked for information. There wasn't anything going forward. On October 20th, our meeting in October that we finally had, thanks to the support from Danny to make that happen. We finally had a meeting on October 20th, 2022. And during the meeting, I had asked our liaison at the time, Lee Gagnon, Gagnon, for any updates. He had none. And then Regina, we met with you the day after because you had missed the meeting. And I had emailed you more information on October 23rd as well, with details of this request to move forward on this appointment. And you reached out to the city clerk's office at the time, asking how to get it on an agenda, asking how to move it forward, and nothing happened. And then 12/5, you again reached out to the city clerk asking for information on updates. I asked on 12/6 for updates. You said there were none. On 12/9, there were more emails between the city clerk and Regina trying to determine which position was vacant, and that the city clerk has a 3-year-old outdated membership list for us, because I know that because my old address was there and I moved over 2.5 years ago. But they stated that was the current list. On our meeting on 12/15, I again asked for updates on his appointment. Then on January 1st, 2023, there were several emails between Helona and Regina regarding updates and issues occurring. 1/20/2023, Regina asked Danny Mackey for updates, saying that you must appoint the member ASAP. 1/23/23, Danny Mackey replied that the mayor approved the appointment. 1/23/23, Geraldine Cardenas from the city clerk's office said that it will go to the governing body meeting on 12/8/23. And this, I have to say, is a person who has been waiting since June, since he applied. That is over 7 months. Just to appoint one person to our committee. And we have now another vacancy, possible 2. I need to get in touch with the other member. But But I'm wondering if it's standard process to take 7 months to appoint someone to a committee.
Madam
Regina,
Chair.
can you answer that, or Danny?
Madam Chair, I can take that for you.
Thank you.
We do have, we're trying to set up processes on committee appointments. There are almost 100 committees throughout the city government and a lot of outdated information, and we're trying to get everything put together. I was tasked with that to work on, and then as one person, we get pulled away from many different places. Like Regina knows, there's so much going on that we've got to fill holes. So I'm sorry that this appointment process took so much time. I'll assure you that next time with the 2 new vacancies, if you get me recommendations for those 2 positions, we'll try to turn it around in a timely manner. So I just wanted to apologize that it took too long. And we're getting better at it, and we will have stuff taken down in a timely manner.
Thank you. And I also need to add that we have 2 members who have requested to be continuing on our committee. Their appointments actually were up in January, but I'm considering them continuing voting members because they reapplied. They want to be on the committee.
Our
And
rules, sorry, Madam Chair.
okay.
Our rules state that is you can continue on an expired term until your replacement has been named.
Okay.
If you guys, so they are still legally voted members. And if you want us to put their names in for reappointment as well, we can take all care of that all at the same time.
Yes, I sent it to Regina requesting that it be submitted at the same time. So yeah, it should be. And I can forward you that email, Danny, so that you can
I
be aware
sent
of.
it to you. Danny's had it twice already.
Okay.
As well as the city clerk's office.
So I believe if it was the one that was done on the 24th with the 1 appointment and the
There's 2 more. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I will take a look, and we will work on those and get them reappointed at the same time as we do the 2 new appointments.
Thank you. Next item, Eli, if you are ready to discuss ice removal in the city of Santa Fe as an ADA compliance issue. If you are not ready, I can continue and we can come back to you.
Yeah, come back to me. I'm in the second meeting right now. I
Okay.
apologize.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
So in the interim, between, trying to set up this meeting, there were multiple meetings with a gentleman named Jeff Norris. And he had stated to me, I told him that the Mayor's Committee on Disability meetings were not being posted publicly. They're not on the website and they are not on PrimeGov. And prior to this year, the meetings had been listed throughout the year on PrimeGov and also on our webpage. There was an identified list of the dates of our actual meetings and times. He told me that they were not published yet. Initially, apparently they were even listed improperly in PrimeGov, but he corrected them. And then the reason why I was even asking was because our meeting was not even posted as occurring until the agenda was posted. And that was about 4 or 5 days prior to our meeting. In the past, the meeting was posted publicly, and then the agendas and packet items and everything were just added to it. But the notice was actually on there. Everything was on there ready to go. And the meeting was noted to the public that it was going to occur in advance. That's no longer happening. And so basically the public has 4 days notice to attend our meetings. And Regina had asked me either early or mid-January for the agenda because of that. And
Not
Go
the
ahead.
agenda, the schedule.
the schedule, you had the schedule though. You had,
Madam Chair, if I could, that's
Yeah.
standard process. It's according to the Open Meetings Act, for all committee meetings across the city, whether it's the governing body or the finance committee, or whether it's planning commission, which are all public meetings, they are all posted with their packets approximately 5 days before the meeting.
Correct, but there was always advance notice of our meetings, and there's a reason. Yes, yes, there was.
Oh, there
I
may
have
have been,
copies of the
thank you, Madam
website.
Chair. I'm so sorry. Yes, the only one that's on there now you'll see is the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and they actually are not incorrectly listed. So you're only supposed to post it once you get your entire agenda. That's direction from the city clerk, and Helona did check in and verify. And so all meetings, the process follows the Open Meetings Act, which is to say it's posted. You can do it more than 5 days in advance if you want. If you want to get the whole packet together 10 days in advance, it can all be posted, but they won't post the meeting to the public on Prime Gov until the agenda is finalized. And we do the same with all the governing body meetings, all the finance committee meetings. And there's like Danny said, there are 100 committees in the city, and you don't see planning commission meetings in there. You don't see any other meetings until they have their agenda. So that we did check with city clerk on that.
And it was listed on the mayor's committee webpage, and it's no longer listed in an itemized month-to-month meeting schedule. And I am asking that that be updated.
I think what was there was the 2021 calendar, so they took it
It was
down.
2022. It was January through December 2022. And when we voted in December for the new calendar, it should have been updated to the 2023 schedule, and it was not.
Sure.
What is on their current, what is on there currently is just saying that it's the first Wednesday of the month, but it actually needs to list the schedule.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on the new Prime Gov calendar not listing meetings, but to me that is actually incredibly disruptive, because I was able before to look months in advance and see the quarterly meetings, the monthly meetings, and know when something was going to happen and be able to plan for it. And now I can't do that. And now I have no central location to identify how to attend meetings, where to attend meetings, what's going to happen next month. And so I just want that on record, that is actually really sad for public awareness, that we can't know when our meetings are being planned for the long-term meetings. So next is, unless Eli is ready, but I don't think he is, discussion of protocol and continuity of mayor's committee meetings. So during the time of setting up this meeting, there were several discussions going back and forth about Open Meetings Act requirements and different things, like saying the action items needed an action. But the Mayor's Committee on Disability has never done that. Our action items were always listed as either new business or action items for discussion. And this is because when we have ADA compliance issues occurring, or access issues or barriers to access in our community, these are timely, time-sensitive actions that need to occur, and we need to discuss them first. And if we were to wait and put them under discussion only, then it would take months to get to that item before we could take an action. And that means that a person is maintaining a barrier to their community, or something that could actually be life-threatening to that person. And so we need to sometimes take immediate action and discuss immediate actions to take. And so, you know, I've sent this to you, Regina. I didn't receive a response, but I know that you received it. Helona, I appreciate you updating the agenda to be the way that we had it, to say action items discussion. And we will continue with that protocol, because that is how we need it as this committee. Regina, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I just want to point out that according to the Open Meetings Act, the committee must post the words of the action that will be taken to notice the public of that exact action. And so that's just the Open Meetings Act requirement. So you're like, that's the big one. If you are going to take a formal action, it must be on the agenda. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know what noise is happening, but could someone please mute?
Could I ask, when you listed on the agenda, because it is a possible action item, you're going to take a vote, do you just name the issue, or do you have to have a specific motion? Or you wouldn't already have a specific motion because you haven't
Yes, you
had
do.
the meeting
That's-
yet.
That's the requirement, is that you're actually posting the specific action. And if you'll notice that they're called captions. And so that the public knows, like, if they see your caption and they want to like weigh in, or if it affects them, if there's just a general subject, the public doesn't know how they might be affected by your action. So any formal action has to be noticed on the agenda of the way that you're gonna move it. That's the big requirement.
So we would have to move today to add a motion to next month's agenda if we have an action item. Is that what you're saying?
Usually what happens in advance is coordination with the chair in the preparation of the agenda. So for instance, a very common motion would be, we move to adopt the pedestrian master plan provided by MPO for 2023. Or we move to approve, if this, or we move to adopt our recommendation of our 10 priorities for the 2024 budget. So you would put that caption there, it does it, and then your 10 priorities could be discussed just as the council does. They organize their 10 priorities, and then they say, we move to adopt the 10 priorities as indicated for the 2024 budget. And you would put that in the agenda. Adoption of the 10 priorities for the 2024 budget, or adoption of the pedestrian master plan, or something like that.
Well, clearly, so in the past, I have stated that committee members, city staff don't get any sort of orientation when we become a committee member. We don't even get like, this is what the city hierarchy looks like. We don't get any sort of introduction to the city. And when I was an intern for the city, I had to attend the city orientation. So I got something in the past, but it was a long time ago. And I have discussed many times that we need an orientation. This is happening in other communities where there is an orientation for committee members to have their obligations and duties discussed and understood by them. And the fact that the city isn't doing that is absolutely disruptive to this process of holding public meetings. And all of us have been thrown into this. We have all we can do is read the handbooks and guess. And for the most part, even me being a chair, I have had no guidance whatsoever on what I'm even supposed to be doing. It's just assumed that I know. And if I don't know, I just have to figure it out. And that's not how this should be for any of these committees. And so I need to say that. And like I said, other communities, I'm aware of this because I have friends who are across the country on similar disability committees for their communities, whether it's the city or the county or the state, and they have orientations to orient them and to have them understand their obligations and rights and responsibilities as committee members. So the other issue that I was having is that with PrimeGov, when Helena had updated the agenda and items that I had given, something went wrong with it and the presentation section was not uploaded. I'm aware that there are issues with PrimeGov. Robin, I don't know if I can request training now. I honestly, if you want to discuss that, I honestly don't know. I mean, I don't know. Go ahead.
Is it okay for me to speak, being
Yeah.
Public, okay.
Yeah.
I just, if a training is what you guys need and that would help things move easier for the city and for you, then it seems like an orientation would be good. I know that on the New Mexico Technology Assistance Program, we've got new members and we're doing an orientation for them. So I do think that it's important, an important part of the whole process. So I don't know if that's something that can be requested now to happen in the near future for everyone. Might resolve a lot of the issues that have been happening with kind of the protocol.
Regina, Danny, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, we haven't been able to get any training either. So, but we can definitely look into that for you, for sure.
Thank you. And yeah, it's been an issue with staff not being trained, because if the staff aren't trained and the committee members aren't trained, we go to the staff assuming that the staff know, and the staff say, we don't know either. And then we're like, well, who do we go to? Well, we tried to go to the Attorney General's office, and I just got put in circles trying to get a hold of anybody. And even Eli tried to reach out to the Attorney General's office for people who are trained, who are the trainers for the Open Meetings Act. We tried to get them to come to this committee meeting to answer our questions, and it never occurred. We were just going in circles. So we still don't have our questions answered from 2 years ago. So it is a problem, and it does need to be resolved.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's twofold then. There's the Open Meetings Act and then there's the city protocol.
Right.
And so both of those need to be addressed in order for this to
Yeah.
run smoothly, I think.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And they go hand in hand, which is why I brought that up,
Mm-hmm.
is the city is following Open Meetings Act for our meetings, but yet we've never had training on how to comply with the Open Meetings Act, but yet we're expected to. And yet we don't know our obligations, and then we don't know city protocol for running meetings or holding meetings or what's going to happen. And so we're just floundering in a lot of ways and just trying to hold ourselves together and make these meetings happen and try to make sense of it. And in a lot of ways, we're just guessing, and we shouldn't be guessing.
Well, and it appears to be creating a lot of extra work for people.
Yes, absolutely. And so one of the things I wanted to say was that I'm aware of some issues with PrimeGov, that it is not user-friendly and that it takes a lot of training for people to be able to use it, for the city staff to be able to use it. It's also not very friendly for someone like myself who is partially blind. It is a big, long list of committees, and there's really no way to search easily for one committee. The committees listed are at the very bottom of the page, and it's really not user-friendly. And it was, again, when the city took on PrimeGov, again, they never requested our input from this committee as to whether it was usable by people with disabilities or not. They never requested our feedback on whether it would be useful. And we never received any sort of understanding of the internal working of it to make sure that city staff who have disabilities, or even just the usability of it, just the features and ease of use, to make sure that people with disabilities who are city employees would be able to use it. Those are all really important points that need to be made when the city is doing something this drastic to change the way that things are done. For these meetings, this is how meetings are being notified to the public now. But was any discussion ever made of how people would access it with disabilities? I have no idea, because they certainly haven't come to us. They didn't include us in any of that. And so, you know, that is an ongoing issue and an ongoing problem with the city, of just taking things on and not making sure with the Mayor's Committee on Disability and other advocates that these systems are actually accessible and usable by people with disabilities, and the general public. And so, Eli, I don't know if you're ready yet. If he's not ready, which it doesn't seem like he is, let me see who just texted me. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to, discussion items, no action. But when Eli is available, I'm going to come back to item 7B, which is ice removal in the city of Santa Fe as an ADA compliance issue. Because I know that Eli is in another meeting for his job, and I think that that's unfair to just skip him right now. It's not his doing, and so, one second. Okay. And so I will come back to item 7B when Eli is available. So item 8A, continued discussion on the status of Mayor's Committee on Disability Meetings Compliance and ADA compliance in the city of Santa Fe. I'm going to do a really quick run through. It's not going to be complete, but it is, again, for full reference or better reference. Hopefully we will have the transcript up from the October 20th, 2022 meeting, which gives a much more complete, itemized list of examples of ADA compliance issues happening in the city of Santa Fe currently. Because the 12/15 transcript is not complete. The meeting, as far as I know, was posted, so the video is available to be reviewed on Prime Gov, or on, actually they're putting it on YouTube now, so it's on the city YouTube website now. We do have our own folder now, which is actually a really wonderful update. And so, so the video should be available from 12/15/2022 on YouTube. So again, Tom Graham resigned on May 20th, 2022, and there were numerous emails back and forth with Regina, asking who would be replacing him as interim ADA coordinator. The discussions all stated that there was no one available to take on the role. And our meetings stopped after June because Tom was not able to continue his new position as well as the interim ADA coordinator role. And so our meetings stopped after June. And we as a committee were not able to resolve the issues occurring because we aren't allowed to meet as a quorum. So we could only meet 3 of us at a time legally. And so it was pretty much me and Eli trying to resolve all of this. And we were trying to meet with the governing body. We tried to obtain extra time on the floor. We knew we needed at least 10 minutes to thoroughly discuss the issue of the lack of an ADA coordinator and what it would mean to ADA compliance, as well as other issues that were really quickly becoming apparent with the city. We were denied time on the floor, extra time on the floor. We were told that because we were members of the public, we would be given 2 minutes, but that was not enough. And so we then realized that we needed to meet with Mayor Weber. We met with Mayor Weber on September 12th, 2022, and gave him a very brief, we met with him for half hour. It was a very brief but very concise list of the most important issues that were happening. Mayor Weber expressed his support for ADA compliance and disability access and inclusion in Santa Fe. And by October 20th, we did in fact have a meeting. It was last minute. Lee Gagnon, who was the liaison for one meeting before he resigned from the city, he was basically given 3 days to prepare our meeting. He was thrown in last minute. Everything was last minute. And so it was a little bit abrupt and disruptive and very hard to plan for the October meeting. We tried to hold a November meeting. Regina, you couldn't be there. And so we didn't do that. We held a December 15th meeting. And then again, realized that not a lot had happened in the interim to assure ADA compliance, which is why we need to hold monthly meetings to check in, to make sure that things are moving forward smoothly, to make sure that Regina is receiving the support she needs from the city, as well as Danny Mackey is receiving the support needed. And just to be all on the same page moving forward on this, because these issues are incredibly important to people with disabilities, seniors, people with injuries, people who are visiting our community. There's no end to the importance of ADA compliance. Unfortunately, the city is still not in compliance with ADA. Regina did take on the role of ADA, interim ADA coordinator. She chose to do that. I am aware that she has 5 other jobs that she is taking on. And that is an issue with human resources that I will get to in a minute. But right now, there is still a lack of ADA compliance happening in the city. And the list, I don't know where my list is, but it's things like ice removal is still not occurring. Things like weed removal. I actually have an interesting update on the weed removal issue, which is that on August 2nd, I notified Tom Graham, but he was not the interim ADA coordinator. On August 9th, it was forwarded to the city and they created a work order 12304, telling, I stated gigantic weeds and overgrowth completely blocking the sidewalks and paths on Paseo de Peralta and West San Francisco Street are completely impeding safe access to food and resources at DeVargas Mall for the seniors and low-income people at the Villa Alegre apartments. And this was in response to my mother, who was not able to actually get food without walking in the street, even though she's 72 years old, and having to dodge vehicles at 72 because she was having to walk in the street because the weeds were completely obstructing the sidewalk. And I sent photos and evidence of that. So that was October 9th when they actually created the work order. On December 29th, 2022, I received this notice. Great news, your work order has been resolved. Assigned work order number 12304. Resolution, thank you for filing this report to the city of Santa Fe. This has been addressed and is now completed. So between August 2nd, when I first told Tom, and December 29th, that's how long it took to quote unquote resolve the issue with the city. For weeds growing out of a sidewalk and blocking a sidewalk that is access to food and medicine, CVS is over there. There's all kinds of things over there that are our resources, bus service and everything is in that area. The thing that's funny is that I know that in the interim, sometime around late September, early October, someone went in there and were so upset with the fact that the sidewalk was blocked that they hacked down the weeds in a very, very hacked way. It was not safe. It was not done safely. There were sharp points to the tree. It was actually trees growing out of the sidewalk. And so people could actually obtain access to the sidewalk unsafely. But that was in October. And so I'm kind of confused as to why I'm still receiving a notice on December 29th about the weeds being removed and acting like the city had removed them when they didn't. They have been gone. People went in there several times and hacked more of them down until they were completely gone. Go ahead, Regina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm sorry about the slow response. One thing you might not be aware of is Vista Alegre, the city only maintains sidewalks that are adjacent to city property.
This is on Paseo de Peralta and West San Francisco Street. It's on the main street.
Yeah.
This is not the building. This is not the building. This is directly across from the mall. This is the sidewalk directly across from the mall. Go ahead. I'm clarifying to you. I'm not going to speak unless you speak, Regina. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Is there any further action you'd like us to take on that work order request?
No, it was completed by somebody who hacked the weeds down in October out of anger. Go ahead, Robin.
So, this is one of the things that I was working with Tom Graham on because I had a similar experience with a client who called here with an accessibility issue. And it really literally took 8 months for something to be done. And so I do think that there's a considerable time delay from the time someone reports an ADA concern to the time anything gets done about it. And I do think that that is a serious issue and needs to be addressed. And again, I was working with Tom on this, but then once he resigned, it all kind of fell by the wayside. So I do think this is definitely something for ongoing discussion and maybe some revisions to how things are done. And I think we've had that discussion with several of us talking about moving the ADA coordinator position to another department where it can be more streamlined. I mean, there's all kinds of options that can be happening, but the conversations need to be happening and things need to be moving. And I think that that's a big concern. It shouldn't take 8 months for an ADA request to be addressed. And point in fact, it's not just people with disabilities, but if it's a sidewalk that's covered, or it's typically if it affects someone with a disability, it's affecting other people too. Mothers with strollers, children, visitors, all kinds of stuff. And so I do think that this is a serious issue that really does need to be addressed. And perhaps with the new ADA coordinator hire, someone who's just dedicated to that, we can really make some progress on changing some of this.
Thank you, Robin. And one of the ongoing issues, which I consider a human resources issue with the city and hiring issue, has been that when we request for things to be done, that the city staff constantly cites the lack of staff in why it's not being done. And so the lack of staff is huge. Regina is doing 5 jobs. She shouldn't be. She should not be doing 5 jobs. And I know, Regina, when I had talked with you, when Eli and I had talked with you, you had discussed that there's approximately a 30% lack of staff at the city, and that a large percentage of that is in your department. And a lot of these issues are because of that. A lot of these issues are because there's no one to address the ADA complaints that are coming through, which involve weeds or ice removal or potholes in crosswalks or crosswalks needing to be painted or things needing to be done. A lot of it is in public works, not all of it. Some of it's in the city clerk's office and some of it's in human resources as well that I've identified. But a lot of it is in response to that. And so it's a problem. I don't know how. I can't address it myself, obviously. It's an issue with human resources. I know that one of the things that I've noticed in this interim time with the ADA coordinator position being posted sporadically is that jobs are being posted for 2 weeks at a time, and then they disappear for a month or 2 or 3, and then they get reposted. And so what it's doing is it's effectively hiding positions that are available from the public so that it takes longer to fill them. It is making it so that there seems to be less positions available than there actually are. And it's delaying positions being filled so that people can actually fill these roles and take on this work and complete these jobs that need to be completed in order to comply with ADA. And so all of that is a barrier. Like I said, I'm identifying HR. It's not Regina's fault that her department is not filling. It's a process to fill positions that is delaying filling the positions that is occurring in the city. And so I've noticed that, and even with the ADA coordinator position, it's been delayed because of being posted for 2 weeks at a time. No one applies, one person applies, whatever is happening, and then they don't get hired, and then it gets delayed again for a month. And so you know, it just seems like for something, and Regina, you did address this, and I am thankful for that, that you did, when I asked Bernadette what the process was, and she said that the director, would be able to create basically the standards for hiring. You did address that issue, and I did ask in the past that it be posted for 1 month. You said you would be willing to do that if it needed to be done, and so I am acknowledging that and thanking you for updating the ADA coordinator job description. That was absolutely key in all of this. But there's still a lot of work to be done with hiring enough staff to be able to fill these roles. Go ahead, Robin, and Pam, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm always full of questions and thoughts. Is there a reason why postings only are up for 2 weeks and then taken down? And why are they not up until the position is filled?
Madam Chair, would you like me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the way it happens is minimum posting is for 2 weeks. That's what most jobs are posted for because everybody's in a hurry to hire. So they feel like I don't want to wait a month to get my eligible candidates, but it is up to the discretion of the posting manager whether you want to post it for 2 weeks or a month. Those are our two options. A lot of times we do 2 weeks because we're in a hurry, but it's probably not wise. You probably want to wait a whole month. Then you have to interview the candidates and make a decision. A lot of times we select one, but then, you know, the whole process takes a few months to get someone in the door. So there's reference checking, there's, background checks, there's physical checks, and sometimes they don't make it all the way. So the whole time we are either doing the interviews and making decisions or doing the interviews and bringing someone in there. It's not posted. And then as soon as a decision is made and the closed out packet for the previous posting is provided to HR, then we can post it again.
And so that takes 3 to 4 months to be able to repost. Yeah.
Depending,
so
it
that-
has, I don't think, I've actually was keeping track of all the postings of the ADA coordinator. It definitely wasn't every 3 months.
No, it wasn't 3 or 4 months for that. No, it was
No.
a lot quicker for the ADA coordinator position, but I've noticed it with other positions that I've been following, that
Yeah,
it does take, it is quarterly pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason is because of this thing where we've been picking people, but then the job market's so tight, then they get other offers and we'll be in the middle of trying to get them, or they'll fail some like physical check or something like that. So yeah, it takes about 3 months before you like either get your person or don't get them, and then you post it.
And that's what happened. And that's what happened with the first posting of the ADA coordinator, that you had selected someone who was a good fit for that job description at the time. It was not the job description we have currently, but it was for the prior job description, and that they had found another job in that 3-month interim while they were waiting to hear back from HR. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't that. She probably heard from us. I think it was like a month and a half. We got the offer to her, but the offers do take a while to get out the door, and you can lose somebody by then. It's true. She lived in Rio Rancho and really ended up nailing a job in Rio Rancho.
Yeah. Thank you, Regina. Pam?
My question is, how are salaries assigned to certain posted jobs? For example, the ADA coordinator, I haven't looked on the site myself to verify this, but I was told by people with ADA training and qualifications to apply for the ADA position here, that the salary is so low that to do this job for the entire city of Santa Fe was ridiculous. Like they wouldn't even consider applying.
Madam Chair, Pam, yeah, we wrote the new job description and we got it run through SAFE. It was upgraded like 4 grades from the old. So the range of the position is posted on the vacancy, and it's now a higher range than it was originally.
Can you tell me what it is now?
I'll look it up right now. Just to piggyback on Madam Chair, what Regina said, we have a program where it's called SAFE, where we run job descriptions through this program, and it tells us what the range is. So we just don't make up a range. And then it's also budgeting and also other issues that what determines the range it's in and what we can offer.
Thank you, Danny. And to add, so specifically, this is a salary range 14 now. And the pay range is from $23.75 an hour to $35.63 an hour.
And please correct me, but I remember you saying that it was 31 or around $31 that was actually approved for budget. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Tom was paid way over the range. And so we've maintained that budget.
Are there benefits attached to this pay grade?
Best benefits in the state. We have the best healthcare, the best vacations, the best holidays. We have work from home policy 2 out of 3 days a week. It's the best benefits in the state.
But it is not,
Retirement, of course, a full retirement.
this
The
is
city
not
of
a
Santa Fe
salary,
operates-
this is an hourly rate.
That's correct. You want
And
me to count?
to let what Regina said, the city of Santa Fe provides probably one of the best benefit packages in the state. We pay more into para, so your take-home pay is a lot more than if you get paid the same amount in the state. Our health insurance is a premium health insurance. And we don't take out that much for health insurance. So your take-home pay is more. So at $30 an hour, at the city, you're taking home more than you are taking home in the state if you had a $30 an hour job.
Thank you, Danny. I'm gonna continue but thank you for all of that information. And again, you know, when I looked at other communities, you know, the ADA coordinators are making around $4,000 a month or more. Granted, it's a larger city, but not by much. And so you know, we of course will be working on.
Madam Chair, the top of
Good.
the range is $6,000 a month.
Yeah. So, thank you. And so I will be, following up on this, of course. Sorry, I'm trying to read through my notes and think at the same time.
Do we have a report on the status of the ADA coordinator position?
Yeah, thank you. That was my next.
Yes, we interviewed some candidates. Regina and myself were in the interview panel along with one other person. We did that last week. My days are running together, so I'm trying to remember. Last week, I think it was.
All of ours are.
It's, I got the session and everything going on, so I'm
Yeah.
smashed. We will be notifying the candidates of what the next steps are.
Do you have a timeline? I know Regina and everyone have explained, you know, 3 months average, but I know we had asked for this position to be expedited because of the urgency of the need for ADA compliance. And so what is the timeline still?
The information has been sent to HR, so I can check with them and see where they're at.
Okay.
with-
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
And if you email me that, I'll just forward that to everybody that's here, and we can all be on the same page, and then I'll report it in the next meeting publicly.
Okay, thank you.
So one of my concerns is that if these ADA compliance issues, which again involve the lack of transition plan updates, I mean, it's a long list. It's the website, you know, not being completely compliant. It's a long list. If the Department of Justice were to come in here, one of my concerns is that they would not necessarily care that, or take it as an excuse that there's a lack of staff. And it actually says multiple places that lack of staff is not an excuse for ADA non-compliance. And while I can empathize with the lack of staff and know how that affects people and know how it affects you, Regina, to have you doing 5 jobs, it's still, they're not going to care. And that's what my concern is that we're here trying to resolve these issues so that the Department of Justice doesn't come in and create absolute turmoil And we've been trying now since May of 2022 to address these issues. And so it's, it just feels like in a lot of ways, like it's dragging on. I know that part of it is dragging on because of the lack of staff. But at the same time, we've been very honest and very upfront about what is needed. And I know, Danny, I was with you in that meeting. We were trying to be as clear as possible. And Regina, with you as well, we've been trying to be as clear as possible on what the most important ADA compliant issues needing to be addressed are. And so I don't know how else to proceed with that, other than that we're still here trying. And this is not normally what we do. You know, normally we are here thinking about really great things of, you know, how can we make the city more accessible? How can we improve services? How can we, you know, improve paratransit? And what are really fun things that we can think of to do? You know, how do we get, you know, free services for people? And here we are talking absolute basic ADA compliance. This is the most basic ADA compliance that was supposed to be in place and established in full permanently in 1992, according to the ADA laws that I've read. That was, and it's gone. Has been no ADA coordinator from May until, when did you take it on? October, Regina? Do you remember? I think it was October. Yeah, it was October. So that interim time, that wasn't supposed to happen. All of the weeds taking over the city every summer, that's an ADA compliance issue that's blocking people from accessing food, housing, employment, bus access, medical care, all kinds of things. And all of those need to be addressed. So, you know, right now the ice is a problem. Go ahead, Robin.
Well, to kind of backtrack to earlier in the meeting about protocol and training in what's expected per OMA and per the city, you know, this is actually the fact that all of this discourse, for lack of a better word, is happening is actually impeding the ability for any ADA work to be done.
Right.
Because there's so much energy going into even just having a meeting and discussing what went wrong with trying to get a meeting set up. So I think that this is a pretty serious issue. I mean, for example, and maybe it's coming up later in the agenda, but I know that CART has been requested, and Regina, I know you've done some work on that, but technically at this point, if someone were to want to file a complaint on this with higher levels, DOJ or
Robin, we have CART here today. This is a.
Oh, you do? Okay, I had asked for updates on that. I never got that it's actually, last I heard you were still waiting to hear from other people. That's why I was asking about it. But yeah, that's so good. I'm glad. That's great. That went through. That's excellent.
Yeah. And
But that was just an example of if that hadn't been, you know, which is what we've seen, is that a lot of stuff isn't getting done. And I understand why all these problems are here, but this is actually a barrier to the ADA, anything with the ADA being done.
Yeah. And even just the fact that it took us from requesting CART from July 12th until today to get it, that's not how that's supposed to work. You know, it's really not. There was no process in place, and the city clerk's office did not know what to do with our request, even though she's identified as the source you go to for disability accommodations in public meetings. She knew nothing. So, Eli, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Robin, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I did not hear that CART finally got put through, so really kudos. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, apologize, everyone. I was in a couple of different meetings but able to hop off for a minute. One suggestion is maybe we do this offline, but we set up a meeting where we kind of work through the process. And I apologize if this has already been talked about, where maybe we have like a simple checklist and try to work out what the expectations are and the timeframes so that we can work out these process issues. You know, it's to make sure that our next meeting, that it's we kind of have things in place with the acknowledgement that, you know, there's a lot of staffing concerns and there's some things that are little hiccups that are kind of occur down the road. But I do know that when Tom was the ADA coordinator, that we had worked out this process and it seemed like it was running pretty smoothly. So maybe getting his input as well, just his experience and how he managed this process. And then we just have like a simple checklist with sort of expectations and timeframes worked in, and over time, I think things will get a lot more smoother.
And I want it set on record that it takes me monitoring the city for 1 week every month because of these meetings, of checking the work, making sure it's uploaded properly, making sure nothing's changed, making sure that all of the emails are responded to, asking for emails over and over, asking for things in emails over and over and over, not getting replies necessarily, being happy if I do. And it shouldn't take me, with Tom, he was thanking me that I was doing so much work because I do outline my agenda. I do itemize my packet items. I do make it so that it is super easy to understand what goes where, what is connected to what. And he was thanking me, saying that it was making his job easier. And after then, once I handed him the packet, it was done. That was it. It was 1 day of work at most, and I was done.
I would return your call.
Yeah, I just wanted to check in, first of all, to thank you for all the work you do. And just ask you if there's anything, more you need from us. We'd be happy to support. Looping on.
Yeah, so Eli, mute yourself. If you can.
Sorry.
I don't want to
It's okay.
overwhelm or burn a bridge.
I can't mute Eli because I'm not a host. Okay, thank you, Eli. So I didn't want to talk over talking. So yes, so we had already discussed assistance with the transcript, which I'm going to need. There are other things that the committee can assist me with, but the thing that would be the most helpful is a trained liaison. And Helena, you've learned a lot in the last month. I'm not putting you down in any way, shape, or form. You did what you could do. But the fact that we had to still go to Jeff Norris and Xavier, I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name, from the city clerk's office, to fix these issues, and they were done in less than 72 hours on PrimeGov, which is again against the Open Meetings Act. It's supposed to be uploaded and complete and clear, and the agenda is not supposed to have to be re-edited on there again. I submitted a complete, clear agenda, and it was not uploaded the way that I submitted it. And it was disruptive to me. The first response was basically, oh, well, it's just going to have to be that way. And I said, no, my disabilities require an agenda that meets my packet items. I number it that way for a reason. It's to be clear for people with visual disabilities. And then after all of that, then it was eventually this week, it was edited. Eli, go ahead. Eli, I can't unmute you. Eli, you're on mute. Okay. So I'm going to say that whenever I submit the agenda and packet items, it should just be uploaded without issue. And it hasn't been. Every single month, like I said, I have to take a week of my time to check and double check and triple check and state what the issues are and state exactly how it should be fixed and exactly what should be uploaded and what's missing. And it shouldn't be that much of a process. I should not have to take a week of my life every month for these meetings. And I don't know how to make it any more clear as to what I'm submitting. I list it out in the email. It's the agenda. I do everything. The agenda is done. The packet items are itemized. I was even willing to do the minutes. I don't know what more I'm supposed to be doing as the chair. And my understanding is all of those are supposed to be staff duties for meetings. But here I am volunteering my time so that it helps me to prepare for my meeting, so that it's clear as to what I'm doing and what we are doing. And yet it's not uploaded properly. And so I don't know how to address that.
does it sound like a meeting between, a separate of this meeting, a meeting between people between the city and Kathleen and whoever, you know, I guess Eli and maybe me, if I'm not sure, but anyway, the meeting with the bulleted points and coming up with a plan between the city and the committee on how this should work, just to make things easier? Is that something that sounds like it would work for people or not? Just trying to get everybody on the same page with like a documented cheat sheet on how this operates.
Yeah, thank you so much, Robin, and Chairwoman, if I might. The thing is that back when Jesse Guillen implemented PrimeGov, he's gone from the city. He was really the only one that knew it inside out. There's nobody in charge of committees, so that's why there's trouble getting people on there. There's nobody that knows back into PrimeGov. So Halona's been really like, you know, tapping into every little bit of knowledge there is here and getting training. There isn't training available either. We've communicated to the city clerk. So I think, you know, we're like Chair said, there has been a lot of knowledge gained in one more month. And I think one more month we'll continue to get better and better at it. But it's just a training gap and learning the new software. It's super complicated on the back of that thing. It's like, I don't use the back end and not many people do, but we'll get it. We'll get there.
So is that a no on the meeting?
Yeah, we don't, you know,
Don't
we
think
know
it would
what
be
we don't
helpful.
know, and we've been trying to solve those problems. We know what we need to get better at, so we don't need any more help figuring that out.
Kathleen,
Oh.
do you
Go ahead.
agree with that? I mean, would it be helpful for you or?
I think that I would feel more heard. I don't feel very, very heard. I'm sure that they know. I'm sure that everyone knows. I've been very vocal, but I don't feel heard. And I don't feel listened to. And I feel like when I have gone to the city staff, not just Regina, not just Alona, not Danny, city clerk, all kinds of people that I have reached out to, and Geraldine Cardenas, same thing. Everyone just says basically accept what's happening. That's just how it is.
Is this happening in other committee meetings across the city?
In some cases it is, in most cases they have the same, you know, like in the Public Works and Utilities Committee, where I'm also staff liaison to that. We have a person that's been facilitating that for years and she's there, right? So, and it's a different kind of committee. I imagine other people are stumbling as well. Nobody has the demands like this though. We do not do verbatim minutes for any committees. We only do motions. That's our standard across all committees. Even for council committees, we don't do any kinds of transcripts or verbatims. It's just motions. We use all the standards that I've indicated to the chair about how we put our agendas together. So everybody complies with that. So it's a lot more straightforward for other committees too. And then, you know, Halona and I are both new, but I think, so I think what I hear Chair Gish asking for is that she sends us the agenda and we get it posted and there's no snafus of like, oh, this isn't showing up or that isn't showing up or something like that. And she doesn't want to hear from me about feedback on the Open Meetings Act. And I'm fine to leave that out as long as we just don't take actions that aren't noticed. So I think we can get there. Halona, do you think we can get there next month?
It's not that I don't want to hear from you on the Open Meetings Act. It's that the way that you try and take over my meetings, we have done this way for a long time for a reason. This is to address urgent disability needs that need actions now. We cannot wait.
Great,
you know,
thanks.
this is something where it's like we need to discuss this with somebody now. And that
I
is to
wasn't saying you
prevent.
couldn't put it on the agenda. I
Yeah.
was just saying it shouldn't be under action unless there's an action. And you could create discussion, new business, discussion, old business. But it's fine. As long as we don't take action that's not noticed, that's really the bottom line. So I just wanted to confirm with Halona that she thinks that maybe by next month we will be able to get support to get the agenda posted, or do you think there's any other things that we need, Halona, besides just trying to continue to learn from whoever will teach us about this software?
Well, Jeff had fixed the two issues that had come up. I don't have control over the programming or the software. So when I complete something and I upload something, I myself expect it to just work. And when it doesn't work, then I have to rely on somebody else to fix it for me. But I mean, it's a real simple thing to upload the agenda and the item attachment. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. It's easy, but it's how PrimeGov works. The programming or the code in there is very complex. And you have access to things that maybe you shouldn't have access to, like to delete or edit. And then if you make that change, it affects something somewhere else. But, you know, there is no training. I've asked, they said they had a meeting about a month ago. I wasn't invited. It's just kind of like word of mouth or, you know, information passed along, which can change if it's not structured. So I'm struggling as well.
Is there someone with prime.gov, like wherever the program comes from, like a hotline or a tech line or someone that can come and work with you?
Madam Chair, there's a lot of internal staff and it's not our responsibility. I could ask. I have talked to city attorney actually, so there's kind of a divided responsibility. In the city attorney's office is Jeff Norris, who does some of it. And then I'm not sure where the rest of it lives. So I have talked to city attorney about it. She believes that Jeff knows everything that he needs to know. And so we're just really trying to get a comprehensive training from our staff. Because it's how we've got the software configured, right? We use it in a particular way. So we need internal training. And we continue to, so I don't know. Alona says, she posts it and when something happens and then Jeff helps us. Hopefully we've gotten all the bugs out over the last couple.
So we've been basically discussing items 8, A and B kind of coherently in the same discussion, which is fine. They're related. And so Eli, I wanted to know if you wanted to go over fairly quickly the your item 7. Sorry. 7B, the ice removal as an ADA compliance issue, since we are at the end of items 8A and B. I don't know if you're there. If not, I will continue. So item 8C is continued discussion of appropriate city placement for ADA coordinator and the Mayor's Committee on Disability. Regina, has there been any updates or work being done to secure the change in placement of the ADA coordinator? I know we had discussed different placements for it, including possibly a new department for equity and inclusion or diversity of some kind, if that were to occur. We had discussed community or constituent services. One second, I have a very long list.
Madam Chair, I have an update. You don't
Yeah,
need to
go
read
ahead.
the whole list. So I think, the idea that has been discussed and kind of liked is this Office of Equity and Inclusion and Accessibility. And actually the chart committee which evaluated the obelisk issue is recommending the establishment of that type of an office. So the governing body will be deliberating that possibility, as they also will be deliberating it in the context of chart, as well as in the context of the fiscal year 24 budget. I think one of the biggest hurdles is that this position is paid for out of capital funds in Public Works. And so that would have to be another position funded out of general fund, which is kind of it's like $100,000 hit, right, with benefits. So it's significant, but governing body will be considering the establishment of a new sort of office or department. and the budgetary impacts of that over the next few months until May.
And then if that were to move forward, I know you had mentioned that it would take possibly 6 months, it might be over the summer, that it might transition to a new department, but that would be like the earliest. Is that still, would that still, with what's going on currently, would that still be a possibility, or is it still delayed further?
There's no way to tell the timing. I think, I mean, I suppose if it got established in the budget, which would be the place it would get established, right? That goes into effect June 1st, the new
Okay.
budget. And then, you know, I don't know how they're going to do it if there's a body in the position and then they have to find different funding for it to move it. And so we don't know all the moving parts and how that would look, but I'm not sure what the timeline would be. Danny maybe has more info.
Okay.
Madam Chair, the timeline is, it just like appointments, it could take a while. For instance, in last year's budget was placed a police substation for the city hall, and we're just starting to get that set up. So if it gets put into this next budget, it will take time to set up everything, hire the staff, and get everything moved in. So it could take a year after it's approved through the governing body.
Okay. So then it's, I guess I'm trying to figure out how we proceed. Because like part of proceeding and knowing is knowing what we're going to need to be doing and knowing how we're going to be, you know, who we're going to be working with, how we're going to be working with them, where we're going to be. And so I know that Regina, with the changes that she had made to the ADA coordinator position, it still is over the entire city, which is great. But at the same time, hierarchically, it's not, you know, like we're still under Public Works. And so, you know, we still then are limited in our interaction with the city. Like if we were in constituent services, we would have a different, we would just be in a different department, or who we would be interacting with on a regular basis would be constituent services, not Public Works, is what I'm saying. So it would affect how we are doing our work as well, you know? And so it's like, how do we transition all of this over when we don't know what to expect when, and it might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might take 6 months, we don't know. So I just need to voice that.
And it's the old saying of we're building the plane as we're trying to fly it.
Right.
And that's where we're at. And so as we move forward, we continue with where we're at. And as changes come, we will work with the committee to make sure everything is connected properly.
Okay. I hope so, because I'm like, you know, I can say that as a chair, you know, like I said, we're supposed to be, and we were really enjoying, you know, what we were doing as far as like, how can we make affordable housing more accessible? How can we make transportation more accessible? How can we have, they felt really fun, supportive ideas and thoughts and things to improve the city. And here we are literally reestablishing the Americans with Disabilities Act in the city. And we shouldn't be having to take all this time and effort and stress to do this. It just should not be happening. And so, and I know that the community can feel it. The community sees it. You know, people have talked to me about it and said they're not surprised by what they see and see happening in the city, that this is going on, that it's not a shock to them. And that's sad. That is really, really sad. And I've never seen it be like this before now. And so, and I'm sure you haven't either. So it's, I don't know. This should just not be happening. So I guess 6 months to a year, maybe more. Okay. So Eli, are you there yet?
I'm back.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and do the ice removal?
Madam Chair, sorry, I'm going to have to jump off. I have with counselors I have to get with before their meeting, so.
Okay.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
time.
And
Yeah,
I'll have
thank
to
you for being
leave
here.
as well in 10 minutes because I have to go to that same council meeting.
All right, thank you.
Nice to see you again, Danny.
Go ahead, Eli.
Oh, right. So I'm sorry, what?
The
what did
ice
you need?
removal, you had been working
Oh.
with the city on the ice removal pamphlet and all of that.
Yeah. So this was a project that we started last year with Kendra and I, and we developed a one pager for cleaning up snow and ice off sidewalks and parking spaces, and making sure that public and private sector was aware that this was something that was required under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And we shared that. And at the same time, Tom had also been working on something very similar. So we kind of combined our forces, and we were able to get out a one pager to the community. And in fact, Brian Williams actually sent it out as one of the Ready Santa Fe alerts that went out. So that was really nice. And then for this year, we wanted to make some changes to the form, to the one pager. And so I reached out back right around the first snowfall in November, and got a little bit of traction, and it sounded like they were working on it. But then I recently had a conversation with the city's communication person. I forgot her name. It was very, very brief, but she was very supportive, and she said she was working on the one pager. And she had some accessibility questions. So I gave her some tips on how to make sure that it was an accessible document. And then also some suggestions on the format of it, some of the text, and also the image on it. I haven't heard back, and that was about 2 weeks ago that I talked to her. But I assume it'll probably snow again. So it would be great if we could get that final product, get it posted online, and then have it available to the community. If there is snow expected or there is a large snowstorm, we could include that in that Santa Fe alert that goes out, just to make sure that people know to be aware of their obligations to clear snow, again, private and public sector. So I see it as an opportunity. I haven't heard back. The communications person I spoke to was very kind, and she seemed very open to my feedback.
Actually, she sent you the final on the 24th of January, I'm showing, Eli. It's Michaela Beggins. She sent it to you on Tuesday, the 24th. Hi, Eli. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. We've incorporated your suggestions, and we will post this revised version once you give approval.
I think I was
See that?
in that.
Oh, here, I'll send it right now. Let me send it to you again.
I do
Okay.
recall seeing that email also, as I think I was CC'd.
Yeah,
No,
give me
this is
1
not on this
second.
one.
No,
It was just to Eli.
saw something similar.
Yeah, they went back and forth a little bit. Because she did her own version, not realizing that it had specific design elements, and then Eli got with her to clarify that. Oh, that's right. I was sending you guys updates because
Yeah,
just wanted
I
you to know we
remember
were working
seeing
on
that
it.
email. Yeah.
But this is the
Oh,
final.
well, that
one.
looks great then.
You like it?
Yeah, I'll have to look. I apologize if I missed that email.
That's okay.
So Eli, I'm going to continue after this onto my agenda, because there are things I want to discuss with Regina here really quick. And so, but I just wanted that stated that was being done, and that we are moving forward with that notice to the public about obligations for snow removal and ice removal. And that also applies to the city. And there is a continual patch of ice in crosswalks right off of the plaza downtown. I will send it to you again, Regina, but it is always there. It has been there since it last snowed. And it is a danger to the general public because you can't see it until you are on it. And so and I know people have fallen because it was stated in our meeting last year that someone slipped on that ice. And that is an absolute danger. So something needs to be done. But I will send you that information. It's literally right off the plaza.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. So I just have a really quick comment about, we had requested for Americans with Disabilities compliance to be added to the city webpage, and it was under one section, which it was under living here, but it was not added under your government, and an ADA coordinator was not added under your city team. And so I was wondering if there was a reason for that, if there was a discussion that took place anywhere.
Yes, Madam Chair, the city clerk said that at the top of the list, and one of them was all she could provide.
Okay.
That was appropriate and sufficient.
Okay, well, we'll be dealing with that. And then, but thank you for letting me know that that was the city clerk. Because I think some training needs to be done with the city clerk to train her on ADA compliance and understanding disabilities, because so far she has not responded properly to anything that we have sent her regarding requests for accommodations or understanding disability needs. And so we will be working on that. So thank you, Regina, for that information. Let's see. The other thing with you, Regina, was that, and Robin, tell me if you don't want to discuss this, that's fine. With regarding the city website, there was a meeting that was supposed to include Jesse Armijo that was scheduled without Jesse Armijo. And that was discussed to include Jesse in order to facilitate improved ADA compliance with the city website. And Robin, if you want to give more details, or we can move on, one of the two.
Oh, well, I know we had met, let's see, who was it? It was John Blair, Regina, Nathan Gum, myself, and Jesse Armijo. Nathan talked about the cart and provided information to Regina on cart. Jesse had planned to work with the city IT person, such that she is, which I say that because, as I understand, it's more of a receptionist or a clerk and not really trained in website design. But I don't recall exactly what you had said about that, Regina. Last we talked in that meeting, it was that you were going to connect Jesse with this person so that they could start working on the website. And then you said you required the meeting minutes, and we had that discussion about, well, there weren't really minutes, but I sent you an updated version summary of what we talked about, and you were going to share the contact then, but then you sent an email saying that you couldn't focus on that right now, that you didn't have the bandwidth to do that because the person that he was going to work with was helping with the snow flyer or the ice removal flyer, I think, but also with the hiring of a new ADA coordinator. So I don't really know where it stands from there. Jesse still stands ready to help provide guidance on the website and making it more accessible. And probably even on ways to help with prime.gov or whatever that, Jesse's just great at all of that stuff. So that's the last I've heard, is that there just isn't time to work with Jesse on all of this. And I don't know anything more past that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Close. That's a very close sequence of events, Robin. And I'm sorry if I misspoke. What I needed to do was, I was really hoping to get that summary of the meeting that we had. As John Blair and I both said, we're super high level people, and there was so much technical detail provided at that meeting. So that was going to really help me click through it. And what I said was, I need to meet with the director over the web and get this scheduled as a project that will get their attention and time. So I have spoken to them. Erin is now on our ADA coordinator interview panel, since that person who updates the web will be a partner right all along in making sure that we meet requirements. And she'll, so yeah, we're working on getting her available to work on that project with Jesse. There was not a meeting scheduled that he wasn't invited to, just to clarify. There has not been a meeting scheduled yet.
So is there something, do you want, do I need to provide Jesse with an update or what he can expect at this point? Or do you have a contact information we can share with him or?
I
what?
don't, I've spoken with the director and she's gonna give me of when she can make her team available to take this on.
Okay.
And I was wondering, is he already going through our website and making recommendations of?
No,
places
he's
that
not
we-
done anything because he really needs to work with someone on the city side to, I mean, he's looked at it a couple times, I think, but I mean, he works for a whole different agency than I do. And so I had brought him in because there were issues and concerns with the website so that he could kind of help with that. And then it
Could he
just
send
got
us a
shut
list?
down.
Could anybody send us a list?
Well, I think Eli sent you a list prior about
Oh,
his
did he?
experience with the website. Yeah, that was one of the discussions early on.
What I got from Eli was that he thought it was generally pretty good, that contrast was good, that the new website was a lot better. I don't remember a list. Does anybody else remember a list?
Well, I could be mistaken, but I thought he had sent something to that effect. I mean, I know Jesse's kind of looked at it, but really the communication needs to be between the city and Jesse without
Sure,
me in
if he
it,
just
because
sends
I'm
us an
not.
email, that'd be a great place to start, and then we would know what the scope of the work is.
So who should she send the email
To
to?
me, the ADA coordinator.
To you?
Great.
Okay,
And Robin, go ahead and CC me in on that so that I'm aware of what's going on as well. I can't participate obviously because I'm doing too much already, but I need to be aware of what's going forward. So if I could just be CC'd in on those discussions, that would be wonderful.
okay,
That
well, I'm
would
glad
be-
this came up because like I said, last I heard, everything was just kind of at a standstill because there wasn't a bandwidth for it. So now I'll go ahead and email Jesse back and say, cool, reach out to Regina and hopefully things can move forward from there.
What I'm looking for is a list of changes that he'd like to see, or problems, just a list of problems. Like if he says like, all your videos need or all your forms, like if there's any problems. that
And
would
I'll
be
leave
great.
that to you and Jesse, but I will go ahead and email him and tell him to reach out to you.
Okay, thank you.
And then I need to skip to item 8G really quick because I need to ask Regina what are updates on the public rights of way and transition plan? What has been happening with that since May? The Tom Graham said that he had finalized it, but that he didn't upload it to the GIS system because he hadn't received training. I don't know if that's still true, but that was the last knowledge that I had from him. And so I'm wondering, in addition to what's happening with the transition plan that was completed by Tom, how is the city updating and maintaining ADA compliance and records of ADA compliance in this interim since Tom has resigned?
Oh, thank you. That's a regular part of our business we do every single day. So we have ADA compliance requirements, of course, whenever we pave a roadway, for instance, all of the sidewalks get their curb ramps and the rumble pads and any other improvements that need to be ADA compliant. Whenever we do work in buildings, we improve the ADA access. When we build new buildings, they're fully ADA accessible. So we are continuously in implementation mode for both the public right-of-way transition plan as well as the facilities transition plan.
And then in addition to that, it's supposed to be posted publicly, but the transition plan that's on there was not updated since 2017, which means that it's outdated. And so it's supposed to be updated as of 2021 at the latest. And so what is the process looking like to update it ASAP?
We'll need funding for that, significant funding. We are planning, we usually do a GRT bond for funding those kinds of activities every 2 years, but we haven't done one since 2018 due to COVID. We're expecting one this fall. The list of needs is long, of course, but updating the transition plans is on that list for funding from the GRT bond.
So you're saying that the timeline will be in the fall then at the earliest when you get funding?
I believe so, that's right. Funding, and then we'd have to do procurement for a contractor to update the plans. And then we probably take almost a year to beginning to end to get them done. So sorry, starting the fall and in the fall. It's a rough estimate.
Go ahead, Robin.
So, again, kind of going back to some of the issues we've seen, I'm wondering if it's possible. I know nothing can be like drastically changed overnight in how the process operates. But I do think that 7 to 8 months to address an accessibility issue is really severely excessive. And so I'm wondering if moving forward, if there can, kind of be an open mind and some maybe brainstorming about how to speed that process up to where it doesn't take that long for something to be addressed.
Thank you, Robin. Pam, go ahead.
I'm wondering, when you're talking accessibility, when you're building buildings, you're saying within the city limit or city-owned buildings? That's one part of my question. Could you clarify that for me?
Both, actually. Thank you for asking. So the city has a certain level of requirements. So certainly for all city-owned buildings, they have 100% accessibility, and then privately owned buildings have different requirements for compliance that are enforced and ensured by our land use department.
I'm wondering if, when you say accessible, most people only think of mobility issues. I don't see any buildings being built unless I'm standing there with hearing accessibility.
Madam Chair and Pam.
I'm sorry, it seems like architecturally, they only look at how the building looks and functions visually. Nobody's thinking about acoustics or accessibility for hard of hearing people. Is that really looked at in every building that the city builds?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Pam. That's a great question. We have recently started including hearing loops. So now there's one in the council chambers. There's one in the hearing loops.
Functioning hearing loops.
Yeah, so Regina, I'll explain. So part of the reason why we can't hold meetings in city council chambers is because the loop system goes down so often that it's gone down during our meeting, it's gone down right before our meeting, and poor Pam had to go there for hours ahead of our meeting to work with maintenance, to get it up and running, to make sure it was working, and then it just went down halfway through the meeting. And so it's not even like while I can say yes, there's an effort to get it set up, the system is not functional. And I actually received an email in this interim, which I can forward you, but it's not really, you're not really the person. But from the loop system, saying that they wanted to upgrade it, and there was no one to contact because Tom wasn't the person anymore. And they were saying, well, when we get a full-time ADA coordinator, we'll get them in place. But I'm going to send it to you because there's no one else.
No, I totally am the person. I'm in Public Works, all facilities issues are handled. Thank you.
Okay, I'll send that to you. Pam, go ahead.
I tried to access the loop in the city council chambers, not just as a member of the MCD, but as a member of the public who spoke at the latest city council meeting. And I have a list here of things that made it not only inaccessible for where we sit, but as the public sits. And I know who did the install 20 years ago. Romy Pierce was up working. Well, then she's just speaking on behalf of being called in to evaluate that loop. She said it's very old. It was a perimeter loop. It needs to be a phased array. A year and a half ago, she said she submitted a bid. She is resubmitting a bid and sending it to the mayor and the city council. Should I have her send it to you as well?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
And any other feedback you have, Pam, thank you so much. I actually was here when we installed that loop, so it wasn't that long ago. We updated it. It was my facilities director, Michael Rodriguez, and I got that done, but apparently we didn't get it done very well. So I'd love to get your feedback and the bid for the new one. Thank you.
And so there's a loop supposedly in the auditorium of the Folk Art Museum that's non-functional. Do I have to go to the city, or do I go directly to the DOC?
I mean, I could reach out to them. They're a separate entity from the city.
So with each loop, I have to discover who owns the building and try to make a request through you. If it's a city-owned building, if it's a museum building, if the building's like the History Museum was built without any accommodation for hard of hearing people. It's just me going around constantly seeing if it works. And if they say, well, we didn't have money for it. And I think, well, did you think maybe of cutting the bathrooms? It's the School for the Deaf is here. There are many older people and younger people with hearing disabilities in this particular place. So I just don't get the funding. It's that they moved the funds from that to something else, or it was never even thought of.
It was never thought of. No.
More than
Thank you
likely
for bringing
so.
that up. I'd love to get your feedback and I can definitely get to work on that. You know, capital funding is non-existent at this point. It's been so long since we've done a bond, but I don't know what the price is, but if it's like 20 grand or less, I can probably scrape it up.
I
Do it
have
right
to
away.
say, excuse me, your audio is the most difficult for me, and I have to move the caption under you to follow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yes, and I've got the caption straight. I'm not looking down here and looking up.
I was saying that funding for capital improvements is non-existent since it's been so long since our last GRT bond. But if it's like 20,000 or less, I could probably scrape it up and get to work on that. If it's more, we'll have to budget it.
Thank you so much. The city council really needs to pay attention when Romy Pierce resubmits her bid, and I will tell her to copy you in that bid as well. Thank you.
Robin wants to make a comment.
Yeah, just real quick, I have to run, but I want to thank everybody for their work and for hearing my comments and concerns. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
So then the next item, going back to order of agenda, is 8E regarding CART. And I want to acknowledge that we do have CART services right now. I haven't been able to follow them. I don't have it on right now. But I will look for the transcript and see. I'm sure it's better. And I want to thank our CART stenographer for being here and the time being taken. Again, I want to say we tried since July 12th to get CART services and there was nothing in place. There was nowhere to go. First, we went to the mayor and city council and city attorney. They weren't the right people. We were told by the mayor to go to the city clerk. She didn't know what to do or how to get anything in place.
Public Works is I'm a really great place to go. We set up contracts all the time. I know how to I've got a big budget.
Regina, I'm talking.
Yes.
I know. Let me finish my thought.
I need to leave. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Thank you so
go ahead.
much.
Thank you. And so I have July 12th and September 19th. September 19th, we submitted it to the mayor directly and to Danny Mackey. And then ever since then, well, since October when Regina took on the interim ADA coordinator position herself on top of her 5 jobs, she, I guess, has been trying to work on it. I guess to me, the most pressing time has been in the last few weeks. But between October and December, I didn't really see her working on it that much. But there was a lot of emails back and forth. My issue mostly is that the city clerk is identified as the person you go to for accommodations in public meetings. And she has no understanding of how to provide accommodations for people, from my experience of trying to get accommodations from her, my own self, and also for these meetings. And so we need to accurately identify who you need to go to for accommodations in public meetings, because it is not the city clerk. And so that's my comment on CART services. I'm glad that we have them and we can see what the difference is. Pam, do you have a comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, I left it up.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Just making sure. Eli, you were part of this with me. If you want to go ahead and make a statement about having cart services finally and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the city for providing CART, but it was quite a journey. I know that we, Catherine and myself, spent some time drafting a letter that we had sent, and we were hoping that the city would be a bit more responsive. But I do feel like there's progress made, and we do have CART now. So I want to celebrate that and thank the city. But hopefully next time when there are other kinds of similar reasonable accommodation requests, that we don't have to wait as long and go through all the effort of drafting letters and emails. So hopefully we can iron this out as we move forward. So again,
And add
appreciate
all
this.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay. And add all the meetings that we had to have with so many city staff and all of our time that we took. Yeah, it shouldn't take that long, but I am grateful that we have CART services now. Pam, go ahead.
I want to be absolutely clear of the difference, what you're calling CART online here and what's closed captioning. Like, we have a captioner in her name and I'm using it. Are you talking about in this Zoom meeting, or are you talking about in city council chambers when there are meetings? Where is this?
Our meeting,
Just
our
this?
meeting alone.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I want to be clear what's going on with the loop and captioning in the city council chambers, which both are inaccessible, and this is accessible, is better. Is this the first time it's been used?
To my knowledge, this is the very first time that CART has ever been implemented in any public meeting in the city.
Yeah.
They didn't know anything about CART services, and so I'm assuming, at least with this administration, that they have never had CART services before. Yeah.
So do you know what they're using when they sometimes put up audio visual, and there's tiny, tiny unreadable captions in the city council chambers?
My understanding is that the city council chambers is using Zoom captioning still. That is
And
what I've been told.
Yeah, Madam Chair, that's a kind of speech recognition. And so it's going to have a relatively low level of confidence, and it won't be that accurate.
The size of the print is so tiny that I had to move to a screen and sit directly under it, which made it very difficult for me to lip read. The loop was inaudible. It was a mess. And I guess that's my priority, is to get CART in that facility and at all meetings, and when they project it with audio and visual, that it's readable. And the loop is functional.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one that prevents us from meeting in person. And I don't want to see everybody not attend city council meetings with important ADA sometimes compliance issues, and you can't even access it unless you're really determined. But thank you for this.
Yeah.
This is very helpful.
Great. So that's very successful. I wonder if we want to put this into a reasonable accommodation request to the city, asking them to expand CART services to other kinds of meetings that they are providing to the community. And this is the success of CART here, but we want to think about how we can expand that to other meetings. It doesn't have to just be for the mayor's committee. It can be for other meetings as well.
Yes. City meetings where the public is expected to participate.
Yeah. And I think that it's incredibly important because for city council meetings, especially for governing body meetings, especially, because how do we participate? How does that, they need everyone's voices. They need, like I said, in an earlier meeting that people who cannot go out, who don't have transportation, who can't leave their homes, who, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter what the reason is, they should be able to participate in those meetings. And the same is true for people who have hearing difficulties or who are deaf or who are blind. I know that in one of the council meetings, like I had stated in an earlier meeting, that someone had to wait throughout the entire meeting. It was over an hour, it was almost 2 hours, and for public comments. And that poor person stated during the meeting, the first comment from Zoom, that the city clerk had not activated captions during the meeting and that they had no idea what was happening for that 2 hours. And that, to me, and meanwhile, the city clerk and staff and governing body were there having all kinds of fun and laughing, and meanwhile they were ignoring an incredibly important ADA accommodation to include people with disabilities in this meeting. And so I noted that down, and I'm using that as an example, an ongoing example, because that shouldn't be happening. They should be consciously including people with disabilities in as many ways as physically possible. And so, go ahead, Pam.
No, I was just going to add, I think it's an education issue. I don't think people deliberately.
No,
shut
it was just a
anyone out. They just, as Regina said, never thought of it. When you are making an accessible building, well, does that mean just mobility accessibility, or are there other disabilities that really under the law are totally ignored because of lack of education? They don't know.
Yeah. And they don't need it, so they don't think about it.
Well, it's cheaper to not think about it too.
Yeah.
For new construction, the ADA standards do require assistive technology for listening as part of the standards. So for new construction, anything after 1992, you are going to have those requirements, but that doesn't stop the city from going above and beyond what the ADA standards require as well. So the standards are the minimum, but of course the city can always do more, and they should make sure that their services are accessible. So that may mean going into existing facilities that were built prior to the American Disabilities Act, and retrofitting to make sure that their services are equitable and accessible to everyone.
And I might add, maintaining them. They
Yeah,
can't just
and
put it there and then that's the end of it. No one knows how to use it, turn it on, and it's broken for years.
Yeah. So I need to hold a vote to extend the meeting for 5 minutes to go over 5 or 10 minutes to go over the rest of the agenda, because we are now at 2 hours. And so otherwise I can just call it a meeting. Depends on if we have quorum or not. We do have quorum with Kendra, Eli, and Aurora, definitely, but Pam, you are also a voting member. So may I have a motion to approve? I'll say 10 minutes, but I'm not expecting it to be 10 minutes. To approve an additional 10 minutes of time to finish the agenda for today's meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
May I ask who was the first? I'm sorry.
I made a motion to approve an additional 10
Okay.
minutes of time. Yeah.
Okay, and Aurora, you second?
Yes.
Okay, I will take a roll call vote. Aurora Black,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
You're muted.
Yes. Sorry, I couldn't find my.
Argish,
Yes.
Pam Parfit,
Yes.
and Eli Fresquez.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Okay, so item 8F, I feel like that was addressed earlier. It is continued request for updates to process new members and appoint interested current members. We'll see what the process is going forward. Clearly they're trying to figure that out, which we already know. So, and then Regina answered 8G, discussion of crown transition plan updates. And so the next item is Mayor's Committee on Disabilities Subcommittee reports. Are there any subcommittee reports? Go ahead, Aurora.
The Transit Advisory Board is trying to reconstitute. We only have 4 remaining members. We are meeting February 21st at Transit on Rufina Street at 5:30. And please, if you're interested at all, or you have constituents who are interested, come get a seat at the table. You can get a seat at the table at this point.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually have some comments about my mom's process to get her senior van. No, it's actually senior paratransit card renewed because it expires, and we last processed it like in 2020 and it's already expiring. It's kind of weird. So I have some questions about why a senior ride card would expire at all and need to be renewed at all. I could see them making them like sending out an application saying, if you still need this, please let us know. But like to check in to make sure that the person is still there, still needing services, and not taking up space for no reason. But the fact that her card expired and they have to go take another picture, but she's over 65, she's not gonna that's not gonna change. So
well, if it's the senior card,
yeah,
they check in with you once a year if they can, and they ask you social questions,
Right.
are you able to clean your house,
right.
all that kind of stuff. Now the disability van paratransit, I thought they had some permanent cards by now. They don't? I thought
Not as of 2 years ago. When we last did it, it was 2020. It was during the pandemic. So we got permission because she didn't want to go in using the bus and everything during the height of the pandemic. And so we got permission to submit a photograph, her updated picture, and then they put that on a card and mailed it, which was very kind and very accommodating. But it's expired again. So she's like, why is the card expiring is my question. Why, I could see them sending a new application and saying, please renew it with us if you still need these services. But the card itself costs money and time and the ability to get to the office to take a picture and all of that. And so it to me, it's like for a senior who's not going to get any younger, who's not going to be disqualified for age, then why do they need a new card?
If it's paratransit and you don't have a permanent disability,
it's not based on disability. Hers is for age.
Well, then senior van is just age. Yeah, you shouldn't, but and they will pick you up for free to bring you in to get
No. So the paratransit service has a $5 ride for seniors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's the card I'm talking about. For
Why
the senior van,
why don't they just take the senior card? That's ridiculous. We'll bring that up.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I'll email you more details, but and I'm just sitting here thinking, this is ridiculous. I could see making her reapply and say, yes, I still need these services, but why make her issue a new card, go down there, take a new picture, do the whole thing every 2 years? So that's what's been happening anyway. So
I mean, they should just take the senior card for that. They shouldn't even need a separate ID.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, send that to me, please.
Okay. I'll make a note of that. I don't forget. I will. Okay. Any other subcommittee reports?
I can just mention that there are 2 House bills that deal with muffler noise caused by mufflers that make noise that instead of muffling. So that would result in registrations linked to car inspections. And you would include mufflers, functioning mufflers. The other is a House bill concerning the use of noise cameras to free up the police from having to follow the strict guidelines of the noise ordinance with handheld fixed cameras and be in the right place at the right time. That's what's currently up at the legislature House bills. 71 and 48.
So we have to get our car checked every
Well,
inspected.
when you register your car,
Oh, okay.
but this isn't my bill. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have yearly inspections because people alter their mufflers, and there's a new breed in town that is not car culture. It's not having fun with your high school buddies cruising the plaza. It's deliberate zooming through neighborhoods in the middle of the night and excessive disturbances around hotels and residential neighborhoods. It's intentional, and they're not thinking. Baby grandma can't sleep. There's a demographic, teens to about age 27. So there are counselors who experienced the fun of high school noise making on the plaza. I don't know how many decades ago, but they want to maintain the status as they see it and saw it. So we got $100 fine now. We used to have to pay 25 for a noise violation. I don't know that there ever were any, but now the fines are 100 and more, going up to 250 and 500 for repeated offenders.
Thank you for that update, Pam. And the information. I didn't know about that, so thank you. And then is there any other subcommittee reports? If there's not, the next is matters from this. Eli, go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, real quick, just we'll provide a more detailed update next meeting, but we have had some conversations with the City of Santa Fe Emergency Manager around access and functional needs, and there's been a couple meetings since. And we do have the ADA kits, which are the assistive listening devices. Those are in the procurement stage right now, and I've been
How
following.
many?
We
How
have
many?
two. Yeah, it's more than one. So there's some.
Yeah, they were originally saying one, and I was like,
Mhm.
And so we'll work on the trainings and the deployment and how to integrate those into city services, but excited for that. So hopefully I'll have more details next time we meet on that. And then also more broadly, some of the work that's being done around the city on access and functional needs and emergency management.
thank you, Eli. So next is matters from the staff. Helona, you have a statement?
I don't have anything. Thank you, Chair.
So you're supposed to read the a link to the video recording of this meeting will be added to the meeting minutes for this meeting. It's a YouTube, it'll be a YouTube link is what I'm being told. So that should happen.
I thought that was on item 10.
No, well, no. Matters, I have 9 matters from staff. We'll figure out the agenda for the next meeting, hopefully.
So you wanted that to be matters from staff?
Yeah. Whatever number is matters from staff, I'll get with you to make sure that our minutes are accurate with what I have and what I submitted to you.
Okay,
So don't worry about that.
Okay.
And then I'll make sure that you have the link to the video because they're supposed to be uploading these to YouTube now, which is wonderful. And then matters from the committee. Are there any matters from the committee? No. Okay, if there are no matters from the committee, I just want to say thank you to Helona. I know you've had to work really hard to learn what you've had to learn in the last month. And I do really appreciate it. A lot of my issues have been with the city's staff beyond you. It's not you, it's everyone else. And so we've been working and hopefully we will continue to work to fix these problems and figure out what's going on with PrimeGov because I'm aware that a lot of it is PrimeGov. A lot of it is PrimeGov. And so, so anyway, I will be in touch with you and I will also be emailing you and be in touch with you about other things like we had listed like discuss the list and different things like that. And I think that will really help. We've been trying to figure out how to make this more streamlined and easier, and just so you can just go through the list and not have to like think about and worry about, did we forget something? Did something not get submitted? So that's all I wanted to say. And we are working on that. Helena, okay. And then the next meeting is March 1st, 2023 from 3 to 5 p.m. And if no one has anything else to say, we are adjourned.
Thanks for all you do, Catherine. Thank you, Helena.
Thank
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
you, Helena.
Thank
It's
you.
nice meeting
Everyone
you.
have a nice evening.
Thank
Yes, you as well. Bye, everyone. It was nice seeing you.